You ever come home from a week of fishing, just a simple, old-school trip, rod in one hand, cooler in the other, only to find that your entire life's work has been reduced to a smoking pile of rubble? Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. Pulled up in my muddy pickup, expecting to smell pine and lake air, maybe haul in the catch to fry up for dinner. What I saw instead was nothing but shattered beams and ashes where my house used to be. And you know what? I didn't scream, I didn't throw a fit, didn't even call anyone. I just sat on the hood of my truck, cracked open a can of root beer, and stared at that crater in dead silence, because in that moment, I knew exactly who did it, and I wasn't surprised one damn bit. Kendora Briggs, I muttered. Her, the queen bee of the Lakewood Pines HOA, marching across the lawn like she was royalty, all puffed up in her ridiculous shoulder pads, death grip on her clipboard, and a face so sour you'd swear she gargled with vinegar every morning. She made it her life's mission to hassle me, ever since she clocked that I wasn't about to let a little suburban tyrant push me around. This was her masterpiece, apparently. "Quarren, oh, thank God you're back," she called out like I'd vanished off the face of the earth, and she was just so concerned. Planted herself in front of me like she hadn't just ordered my home turned to gravel. "We've been trying to reach you for weeks. You were delinquent on your dues, and, per Section 5, subsection C, we had no choice but to reclaim and dispose of the property." I kid you not. She said dispose, like my 4-bedroom lakefront house was a carton of expired milk. I just cocked an eyebrow, stayed calm. "Dispose, huh? You bulldozed a mansion and called it disposal? That's a new one." She barely looked up, flipping pages on her clipboard like she was auditioning for the IRS. "You were warned. Multiple notices, final warnings. We followed protocol. And then I asked the million-dollar question, who signed off on that demolition order?" She looked downright smug. "I did. As acting treasurer and president, it was within my authority." "Right." I got off the hood, dusted off my jeans. She actually took a step back, like the reality of what she'd done finally hit her. "You might have forgotten something," I said, pulling a folded deed from my pocket. "I bought this entire development 3 years ago. Every single lot, including the one you call yours." The look on her face, you'd think she'd swallowed a wasp. "That's a lie. The HOA," she sputtered. "No, Kendora. You manage. I own. I'll let you all run the HOA because I didn't feel like chasing after trash schedules and lawn mowing rules. But now I looked over the crater, my stomach twisting. Now we've got a problem." She tried to act tough, but her voice was shaking. "You're bluffing." That's when I showed her the deed, county registrar's signature clear as day, all nice and notarized. "See that line? That's my name. Quarren Wesley. Owner. Lakewood Pines Estates." She snatched the paper, desperate, eyes scanning every inch. And then, boom, her face went pale as the moon. "I'll be calling an emergency board meeting," she whispered, like it was a threat. "You do that," I said, "but you might want to call a lawyer first because you just authorized the demolition of a $2 million home you didn't even own. That's criminal damage, Kendora." She turned and bolted. I watched her go, thinking you picked the wrong guy to railroad this time. She'd pushed plenty of people around here. Neighbors who just wanted to grill on a Sunday, folks who put out a flag on the wrong day, families who left a bike in the driveway. But this was her magnum opus, and it was about to blow up in her face. Sun's getting low, shadows stretching across what used to be my living room. I make 3 calls, none to lawyers. Not yet. First to the sheriff's office, second to the county assessor, and third to my contractor buddy who still owed me for helping him out of a permit mess last year. 20 minutes later, Sheriff's Deputy Carson rolls up, boots crunching gravel, sunglasses perched on his nose. "Quarren," he says, sizing up the mess, "tell me that's not what I think it is." "Oh, it's exactly what you think," I said, handing him the demolition order, signed by someone with 0 legal authority. He flipped through the papers, jaw working. "You serious?" She actually pulled the trigger. "I went fishing for a week. Came home to nothing. No court order, no lien, just balls of steel, apparently." He pulled out his notepad. "You got security footage? 2 angles. One from the dock, one from the west tree line. Shows her giving the go-ahead. Perfect. I'll need copies. And the contractor? Hired out of county. No license, no permits, cash only. He wrote that down, shaking his head. If she hired them off the books, destroyed private property, no court order, yeah, that's felony territory. You want to press charges. I want the whole damn law, I said, feeling my heartbeat settle. As he left, a gray SUV whipped into the cul-de-sac, nearly taking out 2 mailboxes. Out strode Margaret Tilling, Vice President, pearls, sharp bob, attitude like she invented the color beige. You owe this community an explanation, she snapped, parroting Kindora's talking points. Kindora says you were dodging responsibilities, trying to play the victim. I studied her, let her run her mouth. You passed a vote to remove my property? I asked. You had no legal mechanism for that. Wasn't even your land. We have it in the bylaws, she sniffed. Non-payment of dues means forfeiting rights, not ownership. You can fine, restrict amenities, but you can't seize property. That's not how the law works. Her lips thinned. You think the board's gonna let you tear everything down? I'm not tearing down a thing. That was all you. I'm just making sure the courts build something better. She spun on her heel and stormed off. I watched her go, then cracked open a bottle of water from my cooler and leaned against the tailgate, the weight of the day settling on my shoulders. A little while later, the county assessor, Lindell, rolled up, handed me a map, every parcel marked, my name stamped across each one, including Kindora's precious corner lot. Need you to certify this and send copies to the sheriff and district clerk, I told him, and flag every zoning violation you can find. He just smiled, said, You want a bonfire or a legal barbecue? I grinned back. Both, if you got the time. Night at the cabin across the lake, reviewing footage, lining up every scrap of evidence. Sworn statement from my groundskeeper and old property manager, both of whom had been quietly asked by the HOA if I was still active. Like they were casing the place, trying to justify their next move. Too bad, folks. I was always watching. Next morning, the neighborhood forums blowing up. Did you see the demolition? Can HOA really do this? Where's Kindora hiding? I didn't post. Didn't need to. Just let the panic fester. I met my lawyer, Nadira Patel, ex-federal prosecutor, sharp as a tack. I laid it all out, documents, security footage, the whole ugly timeline. She shook her head, eyebrows halfway up her forehead. This isn't just trouble for them. This is 3 felonies, and if they work together, a RICO case. I want the HOA gone, I told her. Not sued, gone, burned to the ground. She grinned, all teeth. We'll start with an injunction, freeze the bank account, move to dissolve the board. When the indictments hit, the rest will collapse like a rotten fence. Left her office that day feeling lighter than I had in weeks, because now I had a plan, and it was all built on stone-cold facts. Next morning, Deputy Carson called. Picked up Kindora this morning. Showed her the footage, the deed. She lawyered up fast. Let her sweat, I said. There's more. Got a subpoena for the HOA financials. Looks like she skimmed maintenance funds into a private account. Might explain the demo crew. I whistled, bold and dumb. County DA's interested. You might get your wish. I hung up and just stood there, wind off the lake chilling me. Justice wasn't coming. It was already knocking on the door. A few days later, Special Agent Reen from the State Bureau of Investigation shows up at the garden. Tall guy, blue suit, badge on his belt. Mr. Wesley, I'm overseeing the financial crimes unit on your case. I handed him a folder. Annual reports versus subpoenaed bank records. 55 grand in beautification, but no invoices. No contractor names. That's a problem, he muttered. Took him to the shed. Boxes of records I'd saved before Kindora could relocate them to her garage. No license numbers, no tax IDs, no insurance certificates. Just some shell company called Pine Ridge Hauling, which didn't exist in any state database. He looked at me, impressed. We traced the cash, we got them. Shell company, burner phone, unlicensed crew, classic fraud. Later that night, the social committee, mostly folks who'd never challenged the board, showed up, nervous, clutching folders. Eliza, retired schoolteacher, handed me a thumb drive. We kept every agenda, even the ones she told us to delete. Some of them mention off-book deals, targeted enforcement. I didn't understand until now. That drive, right there, was the nail I needed. Civil suit hit the courthouse the next morning. The clerk raised her eyebrows at my mountain of evidence. You sure you don't want to wait for the criminal trial? Nope, we go parallel. When those indictments hit, I want momentum. Things moved fast. Subpoenas out to every board member. 2 tried to quit, but the judge froze the whole HOA. Sheriff's office slapped a giant public notice. HOA activity suspended. Fines, fees void. That's when the neighborhood started waking up. Folks I barely knew showed up, some with coffee, some with files, a landscaper with receipts for work never paid. By week's end, Nadira walked into the hearing like she owned the place. The HOA has failed its duties. My client has shown not just mismanagement, but criminal acts under the guise of governance. We request a receiver, full audit, and dissolution. The judge, no nonsense, tapped her pen, then slammed the gavel. Petition granted. Receiver appointed. All board members suspended. Outside, news vans camped out. Reporters jabbering about fraud, demolition, embezzlement. I walked past, didn't say a word. That night, I stood in the dark where my house once stood. Air was still just wind and memory. Then applause. Neighbors gathered, nodding, clapping, no words needed. The board was gone, the truth was out, and the power to rebuild, physically and spiritually, was finally back where it belonged. House went up fast, but I made sure this one was better. Angled glass, big deck, geothermal, a safe room doubling as an office. The crew was all local, folks who cared about the neighborhood, not just a payday. Meanwhile, across the street, Judge Marion Belt, the receiver, set up shop, folding table, legal pads, assistant logging every scrap of paper. In 72 hours, she'd suspended all HOA business, nullified fines, barred the old board. The old bulletin board, once covered in Kindora's nasty memos, was now a relic. Never seen embezzlement this bold, Marion said. You're not even through the files, I replied. Don't need to be. The checks were all to herself. Gas for HOA patrols, laser hair removal, Miami. I'm not kidding. Subpoenas dropped on the old board. Some tried to hide, others just crumpled. I stayed clear. They were already buried by their own mess. Criminal trial came quick. No headlines, just cold, hard justice. Kindora's lawyer argued she did it for the community. The judge cut him off. You destroyed private property, stole funds, forged documents. Evidence was airtight. Bank records, video, demo, crew, testimony. Kindora sat silent, pale, fingers clenched. Verdict? Guilty. 6 years, no parole for 3. The rest got fines, restitution, even jail. Calvin, the guy who once fined folks for wind chimes, broke down in court. I skipped the sentencings. Focused on the future. The receiver held a vote. New council or independence. 95% chose freedom. HOA disbanded in 48 hours. The Community of Excellence sign came down. Now it just said Lakewood Pines Private Community. No HOA. Music to my ears. Neighbors who'd once eyed each other with suspicion started helping out. Old rivalries fading fast. Eliza brought a bundt cake, asked if we could have a bonfire by the lake. That night, under the stars, we burned the old HOA signs, enforcement letters, and, yes, Kindora's infamous clipboard. People cheered. No one stopped them. Marion joined me at the water's edge, sipping coffee. You gave them a second chance, she said. They did it themselves, I replied. I just cleared the brush. She smiled. Not many have the foresight to keep the deed in their name. Ownership is leverage, I said. Leverage beats intimidation every time. She toasted me with her thermos. By the time the fire died down, most folks had drifted home, air thick with cedar and hope. You know, rebuilding the house, that was the easy part. Rebuilding trust, that took everyone. Now, when I look out over the lake, no more patrols, no more road boards, no threats about mailbox colors. I know we're not just free. We're finally home, and that's what matters. But tell me, do you think there should ever be a place for these little neighborhood governments? Or does freedom mean more than tidy lawns and perfect fences? Drop your story below. Let's hear what justice means to you. If you've ever tangled with an HOA, or just want to weigh in, hit that comment button. This is how communities really get built.